Hello again, and it's time for another project. Nothing too complicated today. We're just going to route out this little pug dog with a bit of attitude, and the dog's name, which is Daisy, there on this recycled pine. Now this is 3/4 inch thick. It's a little bit thick for this project, but I'm just using pieces that I got for free and basically are lying around. You notice here we've got some holes in there. They go in maybe 3/4 inch. So the actual framework, when we cut it out, we'll cut them out so we miss that completely. And also we've got a curve on that side, so we've had to come in there a little bit. The top will be fine, we can cut that bit off, and there will be our framework inside. Basically the same size as the paper as you see it. Now as always for me, we've printed our image off. We've got the name sorted. We place it onto the pine, a bit of painter's tape. Check your wood first. Obviously we won't put it over here with all these knots, so move it over, find the best bit of wood you can find. We'll be able to cut that off eventually, and we'll get a little project on that bit further down the line. So we've stuck it down. We've got some nice carbon paper underneath. I've just ordered some fresh this morning, and draw around it with a pen just so it stands up against the darkness. And once you drew around it, you've got your image on there now. That way you could use that one over and over again. There is different transfer methods. I've seen people actually glue that down to the wood and route over the paper. Not for me, that one. You can also do it in reverse image, print it off, and I believe they put acetone or thinners over the back, and you can rub it with a spoon. That will also transfer it. Just too much hard work for me. For literally for a couple of minutes, you can draw around it like so, and you've got your perfect little image there to do. I also like to take my time and shade in the areas that you want to keep or the areas that you want to remove. You can also do little crosses. You don't have to do what I've done, but I like to shade it all in. That, and I know when I go away and come back, I'm not going to start routing out something that we shouldn't do. So definitely shading the areas you want to use, remove, should I say. As always for me, little CNC bits. They come in different degrees, 15s, 20s, and that basically is just the angle of the cut at the end. If you can get that one to focus, we're going for it. Maybe not. There we go, we're in. So the 20-degree is just that angle at the end there. Now they do have a small shaft on them, a 3.175mm. They will fit a Dremel no problem if you have the Dremel router attachment. But for me, I have a 1/4 inch shank router, so we need an adapter collet. Basically just a little tube like that with a couple of slits down it. 6.35mm. You slide your CNC bit into there, if I can get it in, like so. It's a nice snug fit. That will now fit your router, and that has become a 1/4 inch CNC bit as regards to the shaft or shank, whatever you want to call it. I like to draw my lines first. So as it's all removing the inset, we just come up to the lines. Very rarely route out on the lines itself, because by the time you've done that line there on top and that one, you've shrunk that down in between there. You just alter the lettering slightly, be it wider or smaller. So always on the inside. If we're coming out at set, we'll obviously come to the line on the outside there. You'll see as we go along. So we do all our lines here to a depth of about 3mm. That's plenty for me. I just have a little gauge like that. You can go deeper and deeper. I have one that has more bits on, and that just fits in there, and it's just nice and flush. So that's my depth. So I'll pop that in the router, put it onto our piece of wood there, and we set it to that depth. And I know that's fine for doing all that. We've removed, we've gone all the lines all the way around. Now we've got to remove those shaded areas. So for that, little end milling bits. These are all eBay and Amazon for me. We'll get them what's going to fit in. We'll just simply remove the CNC bit, pop that in there up to that little barrier. They do come without the barrier now, so don't be concerned if you can't find them with that barrier on. We set it to 3mm again, remember, or I will have sections of this removed. We can put it on there and set it to the same depth, and literally go around and remove all the shaded area. Once we've cleared all that out, we'll go tidy up with a little engraving bit on the end of a Dremel. I'll show you that near the time. And then I'll literally just cut out the lines on a scroll saw. You could use a bandsaw, handsaw, whichever suits. And then we put a bit of paint in, sand it all down, bit of linseed oil maybe, bit of varnish, and this project will be done. There's no more painting in this one. I'm just going to leave the wood to show through as the actual finished image. Okay, let's pop our CNC bit into our router via the adapter reducer collet, obviously, and we can start routing this one out. Right, we've made it all the way around with those little CNC bits. It's not been as easy as I thought today. Been a bit pulley with the bits. I don't know if they're just ready to renew or whatever, but we can more or less see. Hopefully, we have actually gone all the way around. Lettering's my worst thing to do. I'll be honest with you, I'm not big on lettering, hence why I don't have a lot of it on my projects. For some reason, I just struggle with letters. I don't know what it is. But we will tidy that up the best we can when we come to do it. So now it's just a simple case. Popping on an end milling bit. Got a nice small one here. These are great because they will route out the side of the wood as well as the bottom section. So your back piece here, the bottom section is fairly smooth by the time you're done. So you don't have a lot of messing about. And my nose is small enough to fit inside all those little letters and any of these bits down here. So we'll go around the old piece now. Basically remove the rest of the shaded area. Remember, they've got the same size shaft, 3.175. So just remove your CNC bit. Slide that up to that little barrier. And then we'll pop it to the same depth. See there, we've removed some already. So that's the thickness we're working at depth-wise. So we set it to that. And literally just remove all the rest of the penciled out area. And then we'll be ready for cutting it out and giving it a nice little tidy up. Okay, we've made it all the way round with those end milling bits, as you can see from there. Everything come out, no problem whatsoever. Now you can still see the pencil lines, obviously. We were going to sand that all down. Just before then, I like to go in with a engraving bit on the end of a flexi cable. This simply just attaches to your Dremel. And we have a nice engraving bit. I get mine off eBay or Amazon. You will get a packet of 30 of these. And they have different shaped heads on and stuff. And they're ideal for just cleaning out in those little areas that are a little bit tighter. So we've got a nice thin one there with a flat bottom on. And we'll literally just go around it all. Give it all a nice clean out. Because it will, let's say, sand down the side sections with that. Anything that we want, maybe just want to extend, we can just go in. Just gently Dremel that up to that line. And same around here, we can just give these nice clear outs. And inside there, and so. Once we get it all cleaned out, I'm going to simply just cut it out on a scroll saw. I've got my marks off there, and hopefully that's near enough what we want. That way, that gets rid of all those holes. Remember, it's all recycled. So that goes in that deep. That's just enough to clear that line. And also we've got a curve at that end. So when we come back, it'll all be nicely cleaned out, sanded down, and cut out. I won't show you the cutting out section, because you could do that on a bandsaw. Nothing fantastic, it's just 4 straight lines. So we'll skip that section. So when we come back, we'll be ready for putting our paint in. Right, that's enough general tidying up and cleaning out for me. Remember, we went around with a little engraving bit, just get to those tight areas, and then a nice mouse sander over the old piece, just to round those edges off, and the edges here, front and back, so everything's nice and smooth, sides are all nice and good to go, and then with a little bit of sandpaper just to finish it off. I don't know if you can hear the noise in the background, someone's cutting the grass. If not, we've got a load of helicopters coming in. But anyway, shall continue. Now, painting wise, I did use black spray for the first time on my last project, and that worked out fine. Just a lot of sanding down for me. And most people do prefer just to spray it on. I'm going to go back to my old paint and brush, a little painter's touch. There's plenty in there for what we want. And it's just a simple case of we're just going to brush it straight on. Some woods, I'm going to take a chance with this one. I'm just going to leave this one bare as it is. You can get wood sealants, paint that in first, let it dry. I normally spray this with varnish first, and the idea is to seal these pieces that we've routed out. You imagine all those lines we made of straws. We've cut across those straws now, so you can get paint bleeding into the side walls. So when you come to sand it all down, it's not as crispy and as flush as it should be. But I'm going to take a chance for this one. These are just fun little projects while I'm waiting on some resin being delivered. So straight for it, bare wood, no sealants, no sprays, no nothing. And it's just going to be a simple case of putting the black in there. Make sure we get all those side walls like so should I say. And we'll do the full piece like this. I might have to go around twice, I reckon, just to make sure we've got everything. Once you've completed, and if you do see a couple of little speckles, you can get a black marker pen, just go in there and sort that out. But from that, you get the general idea. Inside the lettering as well, just throw that in. Just make sure we get into all those nuts and crannies. Okay, I'll come back when this is done, and then we're ready to sand it all down. Put on a bit of boiled linseed oil, obviously, like all my projects, and then we'll do a little bit of varnish just to finish it off. Okay, that's all sanded down nicely. And to be honest, to say we've had no sealant on this wood or any varnish beforehand just to seal anything, I'm more than happy with the end result. I just don't know if I can get close enough for you to see. We've had no bleeding in there whatsoever. Everything's still nice and crisp, as you can see. The only issue I have, and if I'll be honest with you, I'm not happy with the letter Y there. Somehow that just don't sit right with me, but it is what it is. And it might, if I can really get right up, I don't even get it. That's what you call a bit of bleeding in there, maybe. And that's just the jaggedness, if that makes sense, of the wood as we've come down. I don't know what it is. Some pines are better than others. Remember, it's just recycled wood that would end up at the landfill or tip or whatever we want to call it. So apart from that, everything else you can see has gone fine, and that sanded off really easy. I do prefer my brush on and paint method. Now to finish it off, you've guessed it, we're going to put a bit of boiled linseed on this just to darken it down. It's an indoor piece, so it's not so much for protection, it's just for, like I say, the darkness. And it's just a simple case of brushing it on, and you'll see how it just brings that grain out there. Not forgetting all the sides as well. We'll give that a nice soaking on the side. You can see how it just darkens it up nicely. Don't be afraid to get it on the paintwork. You can go straight over the top of that. I'll get it inside there. Let it all dry out nicely. So I'll come back when it's all nicely varnished. And then we're going to, linseed oil, should I say. And then we're going to just put on a bit of varnish just to finish it off. Okay, so that linseed oil is nicely dried now. We did all the front and all the sides, and we even popped a little bit on the back. Now for hanging purposes, I literally just route out a slit like so. Remember, this is 3/4 of an inch thick, so I'm more or less going not far off all the way, as long as you don't come through the other side. And that will be plenty for hanging this project up with a nice little pin nail on the wall. Now the last stage for me is literally just going to spray this with some varnish, just to give it a little bit of shine. You'll notice here with the lettering, I've sorted that out. I wasn't too happy with the letter Y originally. It just looked a bit big against the rest of it. So a little trick to do is literally just get yourself a nice black Sharpie pen and basically just go around. I don't know if I can show you too near. And just mark off those sections there. So we've thickened up the letter S there. See if I can get right in. There you go, you might just be able to see the felt tip there on that edge. So we've thickened up the letter S and a little bit down the I, and we've thickened up around the D there, and so on. And that just looks a lot better now. Originally it was bothering me, and I was going to cut it out completely, or cut out a name tag separately and stick it over the top. But for a free project, we've rectified that and sorted that out nicely. So little black Sharpie pen, and I certainly won't tell anybody if you don't. So last stage, bit of spray. We'll get the sides done. Anything that's available. Polyurethane varnish. I think I have another one over here. Paint Factory gloss varnish, and I have another one kicking about somewhere else. So whatever. We'll take this outside. Do 3 or 4 coats of this, just to put that little shine on, and we'll see how that black just lightens up. Just gets a bit of a shine to it. Right, that's it. This little project is finished. Now I gave it 3 or 4 coats of the varnish spray, just to say we've finished it off nicely, and it's just enough to give it a little bit of a shine there. And obviously we did the side sections as well. And that's it. This little project is complete. So to recap, remember we used our CNC bits. I'll use these. Draw my lines with. Remember, there is different bits out there, profile bits, liner bits. Just find one that suits you and one that's in your budget. But I use those little CNC bits here for the lines. Good old end milling bits for our clear out. Then we give it a nice tidy up with a little engraving bit on the end of a flexi cable. Little painter's touch paints there. There's plenty in there. Brushed it all in. We use no sealants or anything. Just straight onto the wood. And that worked out fine. We had no bleeding, no problems with that whatsoever. So some woods you've got to be a bit careful, so it's a personal choice, to be honest. And then remember, we put our boiled linseed oil on afterwards. That's going to make a show, isn't it? And any spray varnish I can find, literally just to finish it off. And on this one, because I wasn't happy with the lettering is not my forte, I must admit. I'm not the lettering person. That's why I don't do a lot of it, to be honest. But we managed to get around that, literally. Remember, the letter Y was a bit out of character with the rest of them. Just didn't look right for me. So we got a nice Sharpie pen. Like I say, we just made the S a bit thicker than the A and a bit on the D there. And we just blended it in a little bit better than it was. I have noticed with this last bit, as I put the varnish on, they've all had the same coat. You just see there, that last section, it's just not really covering at all. And yes, you would get there eventually. If you want to continue. And I'm just wondering, if with this pine, they will glue different pieces together to make the board itself. You can see that one section there will come from a totally different piece of wood. And I just wonder if that's the issues as regards to the letter Y not quite routing out as good as the rest of it. But it is what it is, and that's plenty enough. This is just a little free project I'm doing for a friend who obviously has a pug called Daisy. And that's it. And it also measures in at 8.5 inches by 11.5 height. 11 inches high, should I say, excuse me. And that's it. This little project is finished. Thank you very much for watching.